different topics, but this APAN's topic is data localization. We will talk about data localization, data residency, data sovereignty, and specifically what is its impact on NRENs that we want to cover, not on the national point of view. That will be too vast for us. We mostly want to cover the NRENs point of view, what impact it has for the NRENs to make its business, to flourish its business, or to flourish its services. So without further ado, I will hand over the floor to Mr. Shumon Sabir, or Sabir Shumon, whatever, you correct me, and you correct yourself. You will come here and you will introduce yourself. That will be better. He is a national expert, so he will introduce himself. And we have 3 speakers who will be presenting online. One is Watsala from LARN, Fawad from PARN, and Warren Finch from ISOC. And 3 on-site presenters, Mr. Shumon Rajan from NREN and Ariful from BDREN. So those are all our presentations. So after the presentation, if I get some time, I will try to delineate what is our roadmap for up to next APAN and way forward. So Shumon Bhai, please come here. He will deliver the keynote speech for today's session. Thank you.
Yes, it's working. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Tourist asked me to introduce myself. So my name is actually Shumon Ahmed Sabir, but some people say Shumon Sabir, some say Sabir Ahmed Shumon, so it's a bit confusing. But I'm known as Shumon mostly. Everyone knows me as Shumon in this country. And I'm working with the internet industry for many, many years, almost 30 years, and still with the internet industry. And with that, do a bit of internet governance stuff. I was in a MAG in the even IGF for 3 years, and presently also working with the APNIC, working as the APNIC Executive Council member. I see APNIC also sponsor here, so I'm also a sponsor for this event as well. So, and also nice to see Warren in the screen. He'll be talking shortly. Can I use the screen? Or? Yeah. So today's discussion topic is actually data localization, primarily, as Stolz mentioned. So this is a thing now becoming more and more important, and yep. So all countries are actually, in fact, when the cloud started to become popular and data moving to the cloud, and data actually moving the geographical boundary and residing to some other places. So this kind of questions are coming up, and it's creating a lot of challenges as well. But in this situation, we cannot avoid cloud environment. The way it is growing, the scalability of the cloud, the efficiency and ease of use, start of doing business quickly, these are very, very important. We cannot avoid that. So, but how can we ensure our security, privacy, and other stuffs? And where this discussion comes actually data localization and data governance. So before going to detail, let's why we're talking about data localization. So in cloud environment, you don't know where your data actually resides, where the computation being made. And the hyperscalers are everywhere, and they are commercial entities are mostly using their services for running different services. But it's creating some issues that if anything happened, then on which law it will be actually, you will do justice or, so jurisdiction is a very important area. And sometimes some sensitive data also residing in the computer, human personal information, genome, national sensitive data. So national sovereignty and legal control becoming important for the government and related organizations. And again, if all data resides, data is now we are calling it as a kind of new kind of gold. So everyone has to have control over their own data. So localization needed for digital independence as well. And nowadays we see sanctions. So yesterday I was seeing news that US planning to invest $1 billion of Russian sanctioned money for the development of Gaza. So you never know, your data will be used for some other purpose somewhere if your data is not under your control. So, and also for the privacy and data protection for preventing foreign surveillance and custody and accountability. It also helps economic growth and infrastructure. So if government mandates data localization, then you have to build your own cloud infrastructure to support your need. And there's also improve local tech competitiveness. So there are some other advantages other than the security, privacy, and other stuffs. And technically also, if your data resides locally, you will get lower latency, you will get more reliable connectivity. So performance also increases if it's local. But there are some trade-offs as well, data localizations. Like it may lead for higher costing because hyperscalers it's a big investment, very efficient, scalable. So if you try to do that by your own, it may not be that efficient or that scalable. So it could be costlier. Secondly, security is a very, very important consideration nowadays for data. And if you cannot implement proper security measures for the cloud environment, also for your data, then it could be a challenge. Sometimes in some country, that legal roadblocks also plays a role. Like the government also try to see their monitor everything. So hampers the citizens' privacy as well. And so you see in the third world country, most of the newspaper are hosted abroad, not in the local country, because the fear the government may any moment they can restrict their services. So there are some challenges of localization as well. So, and whenever we talk about data localization, we need to, three things comes together, that data localization, data residency, and data sovereignty. So data residency means where the data resides, where the data is stored. And data localization means rules that force the data seat and processed. So while we are processing, where the data resides. And sovereignty means that the legal access to the data, even if it resides outside, not in your own geography, but you have legal access and full control over your data. And all these questions come again because of the proliferation of the cloud environment. And if you look at the cloud environment, you can segregate into 4 different components. One is called network, that basically connects your cloud environment with users or any external entities. And that network also controls the data boundary and access legitimate users to enter the cloud platform. The south, the storage, where the data resides. And east, the compute, that actually computes the data, processes the data. And the west is called governance. So that actually take care of audit compliance, logs, and governance related or regulatory related, all the stuff. So this 4 components, and not necessarily this 4 components will be resided in the same places if you talk about a public cloud environment. So storage can be in different data center, compute can be in a different data center, or they can reside in the same data center as well. If it's the same data center, then actually it's simple. So you don't need to worry about the data in transit or any other consideration, and whether that is actually crossing actually your border or your geographical boundary, all these things. So if you look at a little bit detail, that when you're talking about network, that it defines boundary between cloud and data center from network perspective. Controls ingress, egress traffic, routing, and gateways. It also enforces network security, like firewall, DDoS protection, VPN, and all this stuff to allow secure connectivity. And is responsible to prevent unauthorized access, cross-border or non-cross-border, to prevent them. And it also ensures compliance with the regulatory compliance and the jurisdictional requirements for that particular country. If you look at the storage, that so when you call data localization, then this data must be stored in the national boundary, and storage service bound to local data centers. So wherever the storage should be in the own geographical control when we're talking about data localization. And that actually simplifies regulatory and audits and other compliances. And if you want to do compute localized, then the data processing also should happen in the local regional boundary, and the traffic in transit also should be in the local control and local geographical boundary. And if it's local, actually it helps that it minimize latency and prevent unauthorized data replication. Some cloud provider, they have storage locally, but they do use compute in the other countries. So in some countries, law, it is not legal for all of their sensitive data to do like that. They want to ensure the compute, the storage, and the data transport, everything should be into the same geographical boundary. But if you have private cloud deployment or ASA kind of thing, it's all are in actually same places, same boxes, so you don't need to worry about all these concerns. And the last part is the management, that centralized governance, identity management, logging, monitoring, and also the policy enforcement done by the cloud management team. So it provides evidence for regulatory and security audits, support data sovereignty, and lawful authority access if necessary within the country. So these are the 4 components, and we need to make sure that all these 4 components are maintaining that country-specific laws, regulations, and all the compliance requirements. So if you look at the few other country perspective, that how actually they're doing, like if you look at the EU GDPR, there's a well-discussed law in data privacy and data protection, and they actually not worried about data residency, but they are more concerned about data sovereignty and security during data transfer. That's the main concern. Russia, they obligated that all Russian citizen data must be stored and managed in Russia. China, they said everything should be stored in their country, and if you go outside, then security check before data transfer has to be maintained. India requires local handling and storing and sensitive personal data. US have different laws for different industries based on their sensitivity and requirement. But now if you look at the Bangladesh perspective, that what we're doing here. So there are 3 laws actually that really driving this data localization thing. First is Data Protection Ordinance 2025, just last year it has been passed. Then Guidelines for Banks and Financial Organizations, it published in 2023, is basically a guideline for the banks if they want to host their services into a cloud environment. What they can do, what they cannot do. And lastly, the Cyber Security Ordinance 2025. It is basically derived from the Digital Security Act, a very well criticized law in Bangladesh, and that has been changed, and major change has been made, and now it is in place. So in summary, if you summarize all these 3 and look at these policies now, how it looks like, that the first time Bangladesh have a legal right to be forgotten, data degradation, and to correct their records. So for individuals, we got the right that anybody, if someone who contains my data, I have the right to ask them to delete my data if I want, or we can correct and modify. It's basically kind of GDPR that has done long back. We have done it recently. And 2026 amendment also, it relaxed bit localization rules. Like now only critical infrastructure data must stay in country, making it easier for global tech firms to operate. Like if you talk about all data should be local, then the hyperscaler doesn't have any business case in this country. So these changes actually may encourage them to come soon in Bangladesh. And the law specifically prohibits profiling behavior tracking or targeted advertising directed to children. So there is also a very positive move, this kind of restriction into this perspective. If you look at the drawbacks of these laws, that there are some arguments that the law still contains backdoors, allowing law enforcement and intelligence agencies broad access to the data without judicial oversight. So this is a doubt, because it's not clearly spelled out. And there's for SMEs, some challenge may appear that it says that everybody has to have appoint a person for this ensuring the data privacy officer should do that. And that they're concerned that data protection authority may not be fully independent from political and government influence. It is from the earlier experience. So there is a fear in some corner. And there is another challenge. The law is in effect already, but the institutional framework is still being set up. So at this moment, there's living a gray period for enforcement, that if somebody violates, who is going to enforce and how it will be monitored. So there are a few development areas still pending in the legal side of Bangladesh for governance. So now, if you look at the policy and regulations, if you look at what about the physical infrastructure situation in Bangladesh regarding cloud computing. So if you see that the present cloud platforms, cloud operators operating in Bangladesh, for the compute facilities is adequate actually. There are a lot of compute facilities people can use and leverage. Storage, no shortage of that. Network, very well connected and very good uptime and works fine. Security point of view, it is, I would say, that's sufficient in the sense security is something that you cannot complete. It's always there will be new security challenges and risks and development opportunities. So it's kind of a good position. But the lagging here is the GPU. If you want to do, if you want to run machine learning thing, if you want to AI process, so not much GPU available in the country for doing all this kind of research and thing. But if demand grows, maybe it'll come automatically. And cloud native apps just started to grow. Some organizations now actually moving from the traditional application to the cloud native apps. CDN, there are, but very few. So it's not sufficient enough to take all the loads of live streaming, OTT platforms, and all these things. So that much CDN infrastructure is not yet ready in this country. That's why when there is a big cricket match, we see the internet is getting congested. And ISPs are actually scratching their heads what to do now. So probably, but these are the upcoming things. People are now working on it. Maybe a couple of years, those could be resolved. And one of the things is that hyperscalers are not yet come to Bangladesh. They're not yet here. And according to them, mostly due to some policy and regulatory constraint in Bangladesh and the fluctuation in the regulatory environment. It changes very rapidly. So, but now we are kind of stable, and we are hoping that probably the hyperscalers will come to Bangladesh for offering their services. So if we look at the NRAN environment now, that what to do with the academic network. So should they set up their own data center, own compute, storage, software tools, firewall, security, all this stuff, and all the compliance requirement, and again that for security and authentication, encryption technology, and also they need to offer ease and comfort, and also all the monitoring and all this thing. So that is one way, developing by themselves. Or there is an alternative that they can also go to rent to any cloud environment and leverage the services. So when these questions come, usually, probably the key factor are these actually. What will be the cost? So it is cost effective to build our own, or it is better to rent? Another key area is the trust. Can you really trust that provider for my data sovereignty and all this stuff? And are they capable enough to support our loads? And also, are they reliable enough that we can put our workload, data, everything to somebody else? And are they compliant? And same thing also, we need to look at ourselves. That if you want to build it, can we make it cost effective? Can it be capable enough? Will it be reliable? All this depends on actually the technical capabilities, willingness, financial support, and eventually how well we can manage and develop our resources to do that. So this is a big challenge, but what I feel that the universities are probably, I get query from a lot of students that they want to have a GPU facilities locally in Bangladesh, but unfortunately it's not there. So students are actually saving money and paying to AWS or GCP to use that computation. So if Brilliant can offer something for the student, that could be really, really helpful for the students and the teachers, those who are researching on this, the modern technologies that requires a lot of computational power. And lastly, I'll talk about that there is a security myth that some say that localization, if you have own bare metal server, those are secure. Cloud is not sure about it. It's all a myth actually. I'm giving an example that the Bangladesh bank heist that happened in 2017, that was not in the cloud, that was in the bare metal servers and locally hosted with basic security features, everything. But it is compromised using social engineering and a few other tools over internet. So it can happen in cloud, it can happen in bare metal. So again, cloud security is not data security. We need to keep it in mind that the platform security and data security is different. So we need to ensure both, whether it is locally hosted or in the cloud environment. So we need to look at the main factor that's what we should be doing. And again, another situation occurs in the cloud environment, that vendor lock-in environment. Some people buy from particular vendor, hardware, software, everything. And eventually paying them regularly, and they cannot move to different system because it's so costly to build another one. So before building any cloud platform, must look at that. Are you going to be locked in by particular vendors or particular group, particular country? So that is something very important. And so even you are accessing those data, but it doesn't guarantee your sovereignty on the data. And again, if you have data sovereignty with audit right, but the data is not located or residing within your territory, neither the cloud or the data is within your jurisdiction. So there is a challenge that I can access data, but any legal, by any other matters, we cannot actually handle those. So these are the challenges we need to overcome gradually. But eventually, it is already well accepted that we have no options but going for this cloud solutions for our future computational and data requirement. And we need to decide how actually, which is the best for us and best suitable for us. Thank you very much.
Whether there are questions.
Oh, sure.
So do you have any question for our speaker? Okay, then rest assured, but we might have some discussions at the end of the session. So our next presenter will be Watsala.
Okay.
Fawad, do you have any question?
Yeah, just I wanted to know what are the is there any government initiatives for the data localization in Bangladesh, or they're all commercial based?
Yeah, actually, there are some government initiative as well. Government, they build their own data center for the government organizations. And recently I heard that they also launched a cloud environment with a lot of computing power to do AI-based development and all this thing. So government has some initiative, yes.
Okay, how do you actually differentiate between you were talking about bare metal servers and cloud servers? To my, what can I say, to my knowledge, if a bare metal server, once it is connected to internet, actually it is part of the cloud. Am I correct, or please correct me?
Yeah, in one sense you can say like that, because you're getting the same output. The challenge is that not with the, when it comes of scalability and growth, suddenly, for example, that one fine morning, like the university case, when the result is published, all traffic goes 100,000 times more.
Okay.
Then in a bare metal system, you cannot upgrade it on the fly. But if it's in a cloud environment, you can just increase load in seconds and people will not notice anything.
Okay, I got it. From your point of view, actually cloud services means it has enough scalability, right?
Exactly. That's the main beauty of it.
Okay. And it can distribute the load geographically or whatever, in whatever way.
It's compute load, storage load, everything
Everything.
can be distributed and can be segregated, and it can ensure redundancy and resiliency. For example, say in an earthquake or a fire, one data center got burned. But if you have a redundancy in other places, user will not notice anything happened.
Okay, thank you for clearing my concept. I will come to you later. So next, our presenter will be Vatsala from Learn. Vatsala, are you there? So please introduce yourself and start your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Saurit, and thank you for organizing this again in APAN61. So, good morning, all of you. I'm Vatsala. I hope I'm audible to you properly. I'm Vatsala from Learn, Sri Lanka. I serve as the operations manager at Learn, and I got interested in this area because Mr. Taurit and Taurit started this session actually in the APAN 59, as I remember. Yes, and I have been presenting in the session from that onward. So I'm going to talk about Sri Lanka's status as of today. So I think similar to Bangladesh, Sri Lanka's data localization privacy policy has the same. It is the same situation, I believe. So the most important.
Vatsala, can you please run your presentation in presentation mode?
Sure. Okay, let me.
Slideshow, yeah.
The left upper corner. Use slideshow.
Done, right? Okay.
Yep.
In Sri Lanka, we have Personal Data Protection Act number 9 of 2025, and it was amended in 2025. So at the moment, this act is, it was supposed to be enacted in March 18, 2025, but it was paused due to some, actually, there were a lot of debates going on about its rules and what is the restrictions there. And then because of that, there was an amendment issues, and then there has to be a special gazette that has to be issued about enacting it and amendments, but still it is not done in Sri Lanka. So it's in a very gray area at the moment. But so because of this amendment and like previously we had the same issues, like the public authorities were mandated to process data only in Sri Lanka. So this could affect Sri Lankan, especially the universities and the public sector, like research, maybe researchers that is incorporated with maybe a medical field where there are a lot of where they will have to work with maybe Minister of Health. But now the new rule allow cross-border processing, and also There are going to be restrictions applied to special categories of data, but as of yet, there are no such categories has been defined by the ministry. So as I said, we are in kind of a gray area. Other than that, the Personal Data Protection Act, we have some other laws and regulations like Right to the Information Act, also Computer Crimes Act and Electronic Transactions Act, which we can refer when we are talking about data and related policies. Like the Right for Information Act, you can you can request information from the government or any authority that demands transparency. But then when it comes to PDPA, it demands privacy. So we have to find a balance in between these regulations. Also, the Computer Crimes Act specifically protecting data, and it gives the authority to punishes the intruders or the hackers in simple terms. So also, like the electronic transaction as gives you the consent to e-signatures, and then also like it can be contradicted with the PDPA, the Personal Data Protection Act. So, for an NREN like Learn, there are opportunities from this PDPA. On one hand, Learn or the universities, the research entities, they use different different cloud services to store data. Basically, the most of the Sri Lankan universities use Google Cloud and Microsoft services like OneDrive they are using basically, and they are storing data there. Also, they are accessing data from other INRENs, other research bodies. So, the also like identity federations through EduGain, we share data with other INRENs and all that. So now at the moment, the PDPA allows this, the Personal Data Protection Act allows this. So we can use international services, we can collaborate with international bodies and other INRENs, universities in the world. So at the moment, it does not prevent sharing data, storing data elsewhere. Otherwise, like let's say if they say you cannot store data, we even would not be able to use Google, right? Because it's a international data. Google servers are usually in other countries, not in Sri Lanka. So, but still, the minister has not defined. So these are the challenges that we are looking at. The minister has not still defined what are the restrictions. Also, there are like sensitive data. Maybe we have to have some of kind of risk assessment. I don't believe there are such things happening at the moment. Whether we can store this in a global data space or we should store these in locally. Also, we are going to have a lot of compliance related issues with the current the PDPE, the Personal Data Protection Act, because we need to have dedicated DPOs. We have to have different kinds of audits based on data. These are very good practices, but the issue is whether we can afford, whether the NREN as Learn also, whether we can afford this, whether our university system can afford this. So these are going to be challenges. So with this, like the pros I see is we have the flexibility. We don't have to stick to Sri Lankan or local cloud spaces. Also now there's a pause in enactment of this the act. So we have a kind of a pause so that we have some time to prepare ourselves if this get into action and if we have to move everything into local spaces. Also, we can, based on the DPO rules, we can find the small institutions are allowed to not to have like based on the risk we can decide whether we need a DPO or not. So still we have these disadvantages where we don't still have the restricted list. Maybe data breaches we don't have no active remedies, and maybe the delays in enforcement might give some lack of maybe commitment, the confidentiality, maybe give some kind of an risk signal to the international bodies. So let's see how this is going to work. We are also looking closely what government does about this. So at the moment, what we are doing is, as learned the Sri Lankan NRIN, we have partnered with Orel IT, which is a local cloud service offering institution, as well. They are partnered with Huawei actually. So we are working together with them to provide world-class cloud services to the Sri Lankan universities and educational research bodies through Learn, so that they can the cloud spaces like all of physically hosted in Sri Lanka, so that they can store their data there, so that you are not you are aligned with the current PDPA regulations. So also, as the NREN of Sri Lanka, we have our own data centers. In local ISPs, we store our data. We have our Learn Cloud there as well. So we are at the moment, we have our own resources, so that in case there are like restrictions in a lot of data, or the universities have to keep everything locally, then we have our own infrastructure, and we have partnered with Orel IT and Huawei, who can provide such infrastructure to universities at a cost, obviously. But if the law enforces, then we have to bear that cost and do this. So in the long run, I think we should as the this is not actually will not apply only for Learn, but in larger context, the research and education system in Sri Lanka, you have to identify what classified data, and you have to have some standardized contracts. Like you have to consider the PDPA clauses, and you have to include these in the contracts we are going to have in future. Also, we have to start training our staff to have more compliance with these new rules, like new rules that we are going to have. So and also, since we might not be able to have a separate or dedicated DPOs, we might have to train existing staff to act as DPOs, so that we are not going to have extra burden on our extra burden financially. So these are my references. So thank you very much for listening to me. And if any of you have any questions, I can answer. Thank you.
Any question from the audience? So Vatsala, I have one question. Do
Sure.
your universities, do they have
Yes.
any reservation in storing data in Orel IT and Huawei Cloud?
At the moment, we have actually suggested this service to our most of Learn members, and some of them have obtained. The only issue at the moment we see is the cost, the financial burden it has. Most of the big universities in Sri Lanka, where they have a lot of students, and they have their own those universities, they have their own servers at the moment. Some of these universities, some of them rely on Google and usually Microsoft services like OneDrive. Because I think the biggest issue is the financial burden we have. But the smaller universities, we have suggested this solution, the Orel IT, the local data solution, and we have initiated a few as well.
And is there anything like any encryption technology you follow? So any key management issue is there?
Not that I know of.
Because in
Learn.
Bangladesh, probably
Yeah.
Ariful will mention in his presentation, what we find when we go to the universities, they have concern about their data secrecy. So at the moment, I will ask Arif. Actually, it is my common question to all the entrants, whether they maintain any encryption policy, or any, if encryption policy is there, at the same time, the key management policy, as I was getting from Shumon Vice presentation, Biok, Hyok, those are there. Bring your own key, hold your own key. So is there any issue like that in Sri Lanka?
Yeah, not that I know of. I think in Sri Lanka we are still not that I mean not that we have paid a very like huge interest or invested lot in this area. The universities have been managing this on their own. I think with these laws and regulation introduced in 2022, and it has been in discussions, and now it has put into a pause. Now only that I think the universities and the system is interested in this area. So even now the PDPA only applies to local authorities. So there's another gray area whether the universities should follow it to the should follow it or not, because like even the universities, there are universities owned by the state and there are owned by other entities. So as far as I know, no such encryptions in place, but I will check and clarify this to you as well. So like I checked, in most of the university, they don't even purchase from Azure or AWS because of the cost. Most of the universities, the big universities, have their own servers, and there are special like network managers, technical engineers, and all who manages these places.
Okay, probably your universities have more trust on you than our universities
Yeah.
do have on us. Okay, so
Yeah.
next presenter, thank you, Vatsala, for your
Yeah.
wonderful presentation. Our next presenter will be Rajan. It will be an on-site presentation, and he is from NREN, very known face in both in APAN and also in internet governance.
Hello, everyone. Greetings. I'm Rajan Parazili from Nepal Research and Education Networks. It's our honors as well to present the case of
The receiver one. Is it powered on? Yes. It is not fitted.
Hello. First of all, I'd like to extend my sincere thanks to Taurit to initiate these conversations for last few APAN meetings, and this internet governance related aspects is very important for the research and education network operations as well. Here I'm here to share some of the context of Nepal and particularly focus on research and education networks. So regarding the data protections, privacy, and their impact, so I will share some of the context of Nepal's. Yeah, if we look at the Nepal's context, Nepal's privacy and data protections related laws and policies are guided by the various frameworks, various laws and various policies. So it is not only the single documents that guide data protections and privacy related aspects. So if we look at the constitutions of Nepal, so that is the higher body for these privacy and data protections related things. Our constitutions has the provisions as the privacy, right to privacy as inviolable fundamental rights for every citizens, and without any criminal investigations, all the citizens, they will have the right to privacy for their informations and their other data as well. And building on that, there is an Individual Privacy Act, so that requires explicit consent and purpose limitations for the people's. And similarly, the another context is that there is a provisions of right to access, right to corrects, and right
to be forgotten as well in the individual privacy acts. And similarly, the National Penal Code also has some provisions. Without the proper consents, recording of conversations and publishing private photos and breaching other confidentialities, that is a criminal activities. Recently, there is a National Cyber Security Policies 2023, so that has some provisions regarding the data sovereignty, and the policy also has some aspects of a national internet gateway, which is currently taking concerns not only for research and education network, but for the whole internet service providers in context of Nepal. And very recently, we have the national AI policies, so that also has some provisions regarding the safeguarding of privacy and data protections related aspects over there. And another major aspect is IT and cybersecurity bill. It is in the parliaments for last 1 year, and it is still under discussions. The major aspects is the provisions of licensing for data centers and cloud providers. At currently, this is guided by the directives. So every cloud providers, they have to register with the Department of IT. So that is the current provisions. But in the current bill, so there is more stronger provisions and some other aspects as well. So moving forward, so how these policies occurs for internet fragmentations. So we can see this at the 4 major dimensions. So regarding the technical dimensions, definitely this policy driver will have some implications to breaching into encryptions for research activities, and for example, like the National Internet Gateway, so that also will have some kind of implications for this openness of the internet for the citizens. And regarding the governance, so mainly the individual privacy acts and national cyber security policies. So they have some policy drivers regarding the data sovereignty, and the consent-related areas are there, and cross-border data controls that might have some implications and impacts for the operations of the research and education network as well. So particularly that might have some research clouds. For example, in context of Nepal, we are practicing community cloud. So we may need to meet the compliance that is mandated in the governance and in the policies as well. And definitely that will have financial implications, as this is not only the context of the research and education network providers, all the internet service providers are also a bit concerned about these economic aspects, and that will definitely increase the capital expenditures and operational expenditures as well. And regarding the user experiences, there are also some aspects like the researchers, because of these encryptions related things, and regarding the data localizations related areas, that might have some impacts. So if we look at these intents, definitely the policy intent is for the good sides, but when the problem will be there, how these policy aspects will be operationalized. So that will be the main aspects. Definitely, as I talked earlier as well, regarding the data sovereignties, privacy protections related areas. So like the researchers might avoid sharing even anonymized or lawful data sets as well. So I'm shedding light about the research, how that will also impact the international research collaborations as well. And the cross-border research might be delayed because of these administrative and other areas that need to be filled by these researchers. And the approval process might be delayed because in context of Nepal as well, actually currently we are doing one Internet Society funded projects. So we are going for a long procedures, and it is taking time already. So if we have some kind of that provisions, then obviously that will impact on the overall project timeline as well. So yeah, this is my last slides, and overall the key message is that it is not only the case, might be in the other countries as well. Gradually, these regulations are tightened, and we need to be prepared ourselves. And with regards to these internet-related, internet society-related areas, I think we need to more focus on advocacy. And most of the problem occurs like this kind of policies and laws are implemented without a large stakeholder consultations. So that will just reflect by the government mandates. But we need to advocate for that for our participations. Thank you.
Thanks, Rajan. Is there any policy in place for data privacy in Nepal?
Yeah, there is like that is Individual Privacy Act. So there is not a separate data policy, but that is also guided by these policy
privacy policy.
Yeah.
So NREN is providing any cloud storage services?
Yes, we have our own clouds, but that is only for our member institutions. So we are a little worried about that if we have to fulfill these mandates of the cloud provider registrations and other areas, because probably that will definitely impact on the economic.
So any concern from the universities about the data secrecy or data privacy when they store it in your platform?
So far, we are providing the cloud resources for the research purposes. So there is not any concern so far now. But definitely it will be even stronger in the coming days.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Taurit.
So let's take the online presentations first. And our next presentation will be from Fawad. Fawad, you are there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, so floor is yours. You can introduce yourself and just start your presentation.
Hello, everybody. I'm Fawad. I'm working as a director networks in Pakistan Education Research Network. So today my presentation is on the internet governance in Pakistan and the role of NREN. It's slightly different from the other presentations. Basically, internet governance, internet landscape in Pakistan, internet users are about 110 million users in Pakistan. Broadband penetration is 52% and physical penetration is 1.3%. Urban and rural gap is 35% difference, and overall 80% traffic via mobile network. So this is an overall internet landscape in Pakistan. Key stakeholder in Pakistan is the Pakistan Telecommunication Authority, primarily the regulator of the internet services, licenses, frequencies, and all that. Federal ministries, we have ISPs, the operators, content delivery networks we have. Then we have the Pakistan Computer Emergency Response Rate, PKCERT, which is recently established in a couple of years. National Cyber Crime Investigation Agency for the action or enforcement of the laws, investigation, and civil societies we have. So there is a act which is we call as a PICA Act, Pakistan Electronic Crime Act, which was enacted in 2016 after the rise of the cyber crimes. So it mainly covers the hacking, fraud, identity theft, and harassment. Though the law is still very broad and has broader implications in terms of the penalties and all that. But the Section 37 allows the restriction of the online content such as religion, security, public order, and morality, applied across the individuals, organization, and platforms. It focus on the digital trust and safety. However, its translation into consistent digital outcome is still evolving. As I said, that there is the law is something broader one and has a judicial oversight. So its results and the results and the penalties are still. I mean to say that it is something that many of the cases are still unpenalized. Individual capacity, technical expertise, and digital jurisprudence continue to mature in this through the PICA ordinance. Cybercrime that reported in 2023, and still it is above 100,000 cases reported every year. Around as per the actual published 35 cases were resolved, and most of the years are online fraud, harassment, and identity. University-related incidents are low 5%. Their awareness campaign reduced the phishing success. One of the greater success that recent days the government has focused on the phishing attacks and awareness, because the phishing was happening in many of the universities, public and all that. But if you call someone in Pakistan, you will not hear the voice of or bell of the initially the bell of the other person for other phone. It will be a voice of a Venus messaging regarding the phishing and all that. So it's a massive campaign for launch for the phishing, and it also has a success rate. So regarding the data protection, no fully enacted act till date in Pakistan regarding the data protection. Though the draft bill was launched in 2018, but there is no, the legal bill is implemented in the country. It is only related to the data collection, storage, and processing. There are proposals for localization of critical and sensitive data. So there are businesses who operate on the self-regulation. No mandatory, or you can say that an act from the government for the enforcement of the data protection policy. Similarly, the cybercrime enforcement investigation agency this recently established in 2024 is replaced by the old investigation agency, and it has a mandate to handle the fraud, hacking, and ransomware attacks or do the investigation through the law enforcement agencies. But however, there are some things that already involving because of the lack of independent oversight sometimes, which is highly criticized, and the capacity of building of itself of the officers and the team is also a key challenge in the cyber enforcement institutions. Next, we have the national security capacity. The Pakistan CERTs handle the national level incidents. They have established the SOCs, national level SOC, and have coordinated with the operators and other organizations. They have managed to issue advisories to the institutions and also has a very good success rate to reduce the incident response time from hours from days to hour. And the public sector incidents have been declined. It have a success rate of 5% in the public sector incidents. So let me talk about the internet governance matter in Pakistan higher education sector. As the university manages, as we know that university manages student record and emails and all that. Many universities have the sensitive research data also, and their online portal face multiple login authorized attempts have been very reported in Pakistan. Many universities in Pakistan also have sensitive research data, like LUMS research servers have the sensitive biomedical engineering research data, potentially for large target clients. Cross-border and local cyber threats impact in universities like phishing, malware, ransomware campaigns target Pakistani universities. There have been some reported in issues like in 2015, 2025, Casper Sky reported that found fake LMS portal targeting Pakistani universities and staff. In 2023, National University have been reporting some ransomware attack, and in 2021 also, we have been HEC have been hit hard by the ransomware. So there is need of the cyber security governance in the higher education. So PK certs issue advisories, but no centralized reporting system exists for our universities. There's no centralized advisories or system exist in our universities. Universities often react individually, because of which slows the response time. There is every universities have 2 or 3 individuals, engineers only, to operate the whole network, and they cannot be that level that it can coordinate with the universities with the SOCs to report at a time and to manage and all that. So there is a gaps in the universities. There are phishing attacks, and due to the lack of the coordination and monitoring. Similarly, there are increasingly the AI governance challenges also. There are increasingly governance challenges also on the AI increasingly used in the grading students and assessment of the personalized learning platform. However, there is still a gap of the ethical use of the AI, potential data privacy risk when AI tools access the student and research data, which is, I think, which is a very biggest issue, where if the student has a research data or all that, so potential risk of the privacy exists. Limited awareness in the faculty and the student for the responsible AI use. This has been reported largely. AI research output may contain sensitive or proprietary information, required governance. Need for policy to ensure accountability and explainability and reproducibility of AI system. So, so there is no unified framework for data, AI, and network governance across the universities. There are government's efforts in Pakistan, but still there is no act in place to have a framework on the data protection policy, privacy policy, or AI policy in Pakistan right now. So, and especially the emergence of AI and the use of AI, this is something that is that's something our gap, policy gap, and operational gap in the universities. Absence of the agreement for the data sharing privacy cross-border. We know that there are things that the universities are sharing data with the national and international institutions. However, there is no formal agreements of the data sharing, privacy, and cross-border research. PICA exists, but universities have not been prioritized. This is a very broader act, but universities for data sharing, AI, or something, and the data localization. So there is no an act in Pakistan right now to enforce. Search issues advisories, but again, not tailored for the higher education institutes. Lack of mandatory cybersecurity compliance in Pakistan. Most universities have, again, I said, very limited staff to often monitor all things. The gap delays the detection and mitigation is attacks such as phishing and ransomware, as I said. So, role of the NREN. If you see that we need a centralized threat monitoring alert, and then can monitor traffic across multiple universities to detect the cyber security attacks such as phishing, malware, and unusual patterns. We can have a mechanism to do these things, or we can have coordinate with the universities for that. If the universities have multiple simultaneous attacks, national land can issue real alerts to all member universities. So, and then may take this responsibility or establish these things. So what we have done in Pakistan right now, we have developed our own SOC in Pakistan, a dedicated SOC, which been collaborating with the PK CERT for the threat information sharing. Any kind of threat that we receive, advisory we receive, PK CERT, we issues to universities, or what we found in our SOC, we issues the alert to not only the universities but also to the PK cert for the alerts. We have established email list, WhatsApp channels, focal person from universities and from the other government institutions, so that we can communicate with them on the what we receive the notifications and all that. We have deployed the endpoint detection response system, the network detection and response system in our PERN. The SIEM solution in our PERM. We have deployed firewalls in almost 150 institutions of Pakistan, and we take the logs and making in the one centralized SIEM for logarithm to see what is happening in the networks, what kind of alerts what kind of attacks they are getting, and all that. So. And also we are conducting the awareness workshops in the universities and capacity buildings for the technical.
Fawad, you have 2 minutes more. Okay.
Yeah, but just I'm finishing.
Yeah.
And then may collaborate each other in provide or develop framework for data privacy. I believe this is one we need to join hands for develop framework for data privacy, storage, and sharing. Initiative to establish a federated AI database. I think this is one of the key things that I must say that we need to see that how we can establish a federated AI database for secure and AI services. Assist in ethical AI use of creating, research, and teaching. Enable cross-border research collaboration and promote standardization of data format and storage protocols. So we need to collaborate for not only AI federated AI database, but also the developing the framework for the data privacy, storage, and sharing. So this is again for the NRANs, that what NRANs can do in joining the hands by sharing and developing the frameworks for the cyber governance, for the AI data governance, and all that. So key takeaways: internet governance in Pakistan is evolving. There are laws that which is been developing. Mostly are underdeveloped, and maybe will be launched in this year. That says data protection, data privacy, and all that. We need to collaborate on the education and entrance. We need to collaborate on the policies, data framework, and protection, and all that. So thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Fawad. So we have a plan to introduce SOC from BDRAN, and once it is introduced, we can also collaborate with you to establish AP CERT, Asia Pacific CERT, or AP NRAN CERT. So for establishing SOC, we might need your advice. So I will keep in touch with you. Okay? Thank you. Thank you for the nice presentation. And our next presenter will be Warren Finch. Warren Finch, are you there? Let me finish all the online presentations so that we can release them. So could you start your presentation by giving a short introduction? We cannot hear you.
Screen's not coming on.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I got my screen on, but it's not coming through.
Yeah, it's coming.
There you go.
Yeah.
Just took a little while to come through.
Yeah, thank you. It's
Thank you. Good
clear?
afternoon.
Yeah, please continue. It's clear, nice and clear.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm going to look at this more from the Internet Society's point of view. I'm not specific with all of your country laws and regulations. I do know a bit about all of them. I have been to most of the countries that have been listed here. And so Mumbai, thank you for saying hello before. I wish I was in Dhaka at this point. In regards to the data privacy, a lot of people are still trying to define what privacy is, and that's where the impact on some of the laws and regulations are in your own countries are having a issue in regards to being able to put it into regulation in an accurate way so people are able to interpret it. And the reason for that, if you think about privacy, there's no universal agreed definition. And the reason for that is that the privacy is influenced by where you live, your society, and everything that is related to that, like your history, what your experience is, your education levels. So when it comes to your own NRENs and your country, privacy is contextualized. So for example, if we look at the Australian laws where I'm from, we have a scope inside that law for personal data and personal information. And data is different to the information. And that would be the same in your own country there. Ideally, what we're trying to do is when we're storing that information, we want to try and de-identify that personal data. So that way, when we do research on that information, we're not having to be as concerned about that information being leaked. And it makes it easier for us to then do cross-border sharing. When we combine data sets and then look at those combined data sets, that's where your privacy can be risky. You can now start collating that information and you can start figuring out what they're doing. So for example, if you're able to determine people's buying habits with credit card information and combine that with mobile data, the cell locations, you can now start tracking where people are going and look at more detail from there. So there's a lot of implications in regards to defining what privacy is and then knowing how to handle that privacy correctly or that data. A good example is there's an organization called DLI Piper, and they've created this online tool called a data protection heat map. And they basically look at the different countries around the globe and they do a comparison of those privacy laws and the data protection laws. And if you see the maroon color, that means that they're heavily regulated. If you look at the gray or the pink colors, those countries are still in their infancy and still are not regulating the data protection as much. So it's a great tool. I highly recommend that when you have time that you go have a look at that. You can do a comparison of different countries if you would like. From the Internet Society's point of view, we're looking at it from a technical level, and that is the critical properties of the internet. So the NRENs are all connected to each other through some sort of network, and in most cases, the internet. So from the Internet Society, we break that into 5 key properties. So you've got the first one, which is accessible infrastructure with a common protocol. The second one is an open architecture of interoperability and those reusable building blocks, decentralized management and a distributed routing system, common global identifiers, and tech neutral general purpose network. So I've only got a few minutes here, so I won't go into detail of that, but feel free to reach out to me for more details or have a look at the Internet Society's website. But if we look at those 5 key areas, those 5 key properties, and we looked at the concept of data localization, where you have a new law that requires all personal data be kept inside your country borders, whether that's academic records, health information, credit cards. It's all going to be based on some sort of stated goal. For example, the protection of your citizens' privacy and security, the strengthening of your national sovereignty, and encouraging local growth of your data centers and your tech industries. And we've already seen that in the previous talks from other people. So when we look at that and look at it at the taking into account those critical properties, you need to ask some key questions about that. First up, is it going to be a positive effect or a negative effect? And then why is there going to be that sort of effect? So you need some sort of critical thinking to be able to do that. And I hope based on what I've read for the agenda from this, is that we'll be able to do that for future APANs and work on a project together. So going back to that first question of the data localization impact, if we looked at the first critical property of accessible infrastructure, that's going to have a negative impact because there's going to be increased costs associated with running your storage services. So we've already talked about having to store more data locally, being able to create cloud services in country, and having that infrastructure in place. So therefore, it's going to then move to the third critical property, which is that decentralized management, because it's going to have a negative impact on that, because you now don't have that autonomy of operators to be able to store their data and use data centers wherever it's cheapest or favorable to their operating conditions. So that then means it's going to impact their connectivity, their resilience, and the optimization of flow. And then from a tech neutral network point of view, it requires some sort of coordination between where your data is, the content, and making it available to everyone, especially if it's localized from that point of view. So why does it matter? Well, if we look at the internet societies, one of our goals is to have an open and secure internet. So localized data is going to impede the openness and accessibility of that global internet. Localized data, if you're an NREN, if you're creating data sets from your research, how are you going to be able to share that with other NRENs outside of your country and keep that data local? So it then makes it a little bit more difficult for that flow of information and that network efficiency from there. So that will result in increased barriers to entry. So that's going to be detrimental for all people, including NRENs and governments and businesses. But it makes the internet less resilient, less global, costs a lot more because you're going to have to replicate those cloud infrastructures in your own country, plus all that data storage. So that CapEx is required to set up that initial setup. And then it's going to be less valuable, because what happens if you only do one cloud environment for your whole country? You don't have that resiliency there. The past 60 years has actually seen a growth of data localization. There was a report in 2023 from the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, and it was to do with the nature of the evolution and potential implications of data localization measurements in regards to trade policy. And we can see here from 1967, there was really no need for localized storage. Then it eventually grew to about 2013, where there was majority was localized storage. And then from there was more and more need to be able to control the flow of that information, being able to have some sort of flow condition to protect that data, or even a flow prohibition to stop that data from leaving the country. So it has an impact on there. Now, I know my time is up, so I'm just going to jump quickly to this next two slides, and then I'll give it back to the floor. But from the Internet Society's point of view, There are a lot of different working groups that are there that are working on privacy in internet protocols and standards. You know about encryption. Tawit had already asked some questions about that. I won't focus on that today. And there's also the Open Data Sharing Working Group that APAN has. That was the session before this one. But from the IETF and W3C, there are some internet guidance documents that you can have a look at. So RFC 6973, Privacy Considerations of Internet Protocols. RFC 8890, the internet is for end users. And then there are some W3C policies in regards to ethical web principles, privacy principles, a self-review questionnaire, and mitigating your fingerprinting of web browsers and so on. So thank you for that. I will leave it there. I'll upload my full slide to the documents area so that way you'll have access to those, or Tawit will be able to tell me what to do. We've given you access to that. Are there any questions?
Any question? Thanks, Warren Finch. We are running out of time for your wonderful and insightful presentation. So as you have already mentioned that you will upload it, so I would request you to do that. And the issue is two conflicting topic. In the next room, it is the session is going on open data sharing. And we are doing it on data localization. We are working in favor of internet fragmentation. Okay. So your statement is quite true that once you localize the data, it will create obstacle for the researchers. So thank you very much for putting it in that way. And next presenter will be Busong. Are you ready? Yeah, so we will see what's happening in a developed country like South Korea.
Yeah, I prepared it, just our test localization issue in South Korea. But all this slide is drafted by the Gemini and Canvas. And I am not the official representative over our government regarding this matter. But I'm under the Internet Address Policy Committee in Korea. I member there. So yeah, I will explain what is going there in Korea. Just the Lee is our new president. There are often the new doctrine. That is three things. Just what's the biggest thing? One is our sovereign AI. So we want to build our own AI models with some big facilities. That is a major one. And market fairness and the data dividend. There are two issues there. Yes, it's FIFA. Maybe you know about the Personal Information Protection Act. It's our major act for the how to protecting the data. So it's maybe a little bit same, but we are now focusing on the just for not just for the privacy, to the sovereignty, because we sometimes Korea is could be the Galapagos for the how to for sharing some data. All our cloud service provider from overseas, they cannot do the service to our public sectors. But last year, a little bit open. So that is our major jump to there. So another one is we also have a little kind of a key switch to the yes, this is in enforcement. Yes, it's a strict consent for the transfer required explicit consent detailing the destination and retention. And enforcement too is also there. So it is a little bit strong our the tool for this one. Also, the localization and affordability issue was there. So our domestic representative mandate was also there. And my data initiative, that is very important for us. I usually have to unconditional right to transfer data between the provider. That is our new jump. This is major one in this moment, because maybe you heard about our physical network separation. That is done since 2006 in the public sectors to our whole infrastructure should be safe with the device. Like our government asked to strict the physical network separation that isolate the government agencies. That is, but in this era, in the AI eras, this become a existent threat to the competitiveness because we cannot share our data. So for this enforcement, so we are moving to we approve the logical separation. That is the big things. Maybe you already heard about the multi-level securities that we call the N2SF. That replaced the binary internet purpose the external model with a risk-based three-tier system, allowing for cloud adaptation in lower risk tiers. Yeah, it's the 3 tiers. Just our commercial provider, they also do the service, the resource for the public sectors with this tier, often tiers. But for the state, a little bit defense in intelligence and diplomacy, already there should be done with our physical separation. That is our big job. Yeah, all this NTSF mandate zero trust the architecture. That is also another our things. And so last year already, the Google's AWS, Microsoft, they do their own region in Seoul area and do service to their service for our public sector with often classified the tiers. Yeah, our new things, AI initiative, that is very big. The fund is already funded for these sectors, to build the big infrastructures and the cloud project and the database. Yes, I skip this one. From the last year, the inauguration of our new president, there is a US, and maybe you heard about US Creator Summit for the something, and Microsoft, their commercial provider, they can do the service with the end-to-end mechanisms, and interest implementation was just started in this year. Yes, it's summary. This is for the new our data sovereign. We should do often our data with the end-to-end mechanisms, and this is a digital dilemma. Maybe the policymakers face the complex challenge over the balancing 3 competing goals: network securities, autonomies, and equality. Yeah, we call this is the end of the L gap. Is we can handle the network separation with the physical separation and the logical separation. We code we do with this frameworks. We can open our data with the other provider. Yeah, this is all my slide.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So at least with N2SF,
Yeah,
we can expect that it is getting little bit open.
yeah,
right?
little bit open. Yeah, right.
The other cloud providers
And
can
yes,
get access with some of the data,
yeah, right.
open data.
Yeah, open data.
Thank you.
Yep.
So our last presenter will be Mr. Ariful Islam
Yeah.
from BDRAN.
Yep.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I think you all are tired waiting for the lunch. So I will quickly wrap up my presentation as early as possible. So, we have an ordinance 2025 data protection, personal data protection ordinance. And I will discuss inside of this ordinance in my presentation. So firstly, if you find the context of this ordinance, so Bangladesh basically rapidly digitalized in last decade and through the public digital services and cloud services and the e-commerce, mobile banking, and to biometric based registration. So, but we had a lack of legal framework to address different sort of issues as raised, like legal uncertainties of the organizations and the lack of protection of the citizens' data and the weekly accountable of the misuse and the breaches of the data. So our ordinance actually address these gaps, all these things with this ordinance enacted in November 2025. That the four global data protection principle that has been considered to build this ordinance. And firstly, data must be processed in lawful and fair and transparent manner. The secondly, data can only be collected for the specific and legitimate purposes. And third, the organization should collect the data what is only needed, not the data technically possible to access or collect. So they should only collect the data what is only needed. And finally, the consent must be explicit and to be informed and maybe withdrawable. So this is basically the four international global data protection norms that also considered by the European General Data Protection Regulation laws, and other countries also adopt this sort of things, principles. And another important shifts of this ordinance is basically rights-based approaches. So these rights-based approaches give the citizen to have right to know how their data is actually used, how their data is used, and the right to access and correct the incorrect data, and right to request deletion, and the right to restrict automated decision making with their using their data. So there are also a special consideration for the children and the special vulnerable person to protect themselves and digital AI-based and algorithmic-based digital platform nowadays. So I think this sort of right-based approach basically make the trust of the public to grow these sustainable digital platform in Bangladesh. So Shuman Bhai already said this, discussed this. There is the ordinance already introduced a framework that is called a governance framework that is called National Data Governance Authority. And basically now the data authorities, basically this body will be register and classify the data fiduciaries, monitor the compliance, conduct the audits, data flow, audits of data flow, and enforce the penalties, and also issues the technical and operational guidelines. So if we see the penalties, so there are sort of categories of penalties that has been introduced in the Data Protection Ordinance 2025. That is, financial penalties may be imposes, criminal sanction may be imposes, and mandatory breach notification, and personal liability to the directors. Basically, there is a responsible person who will monitor and the issues, compliance, and the roles. That is data officer or the directors. So personal liability also considered for that officer also has been considered in this enforcement and the penalties. So internet governance sector for Bangladesh, what the role and impact of this ordinance in internet governance in Bangladesh. So this actually brings the establishment of the legal authority of internet governance in Bangladesh. Basically, that is the NDGA, National Data Governance Authority, and brings the global platform under the Bangladeshi jurisdiction. Whether they are processing Bangladeshi nationals' personal data, whether they are operating outside the country, and strengthen the data sovereignty, and also increase the accountability in the cyber spaces. So these sort of things that is actually considered to govern the internet with this law. And in terms of operator, I will say the operator should be more concerned about their collecting subscriber data, traffic metadata, local location data, and the usage log of network usage log also fall under this jurisdiction. And operator must ensure sort of things like secure handling of customer data, strong breach detection and the response, clear documentation of the data flow, and the compliance in cross-border routing and cloud uses. So now comes to the cross-border data transfer, which also be addressed in this ordinance. In data protection, personal data protection ordinance 2025 adopts a balanced approach basically to cross-border data transfer by considering data can be transferred abroad only if equivalent protection exists in the destination territory. So another thing is the sensitive data, which has been clearly defined by this ordinance. What is the sensitive data? So sensitive data, for the sensitive data may be require additional approval, which basically leads to the sensitive data to be localized. So with these two considerations, basically, it actually protects the national interest. On the other hand, it also avoids the extreme of data localization approaches. So certain things that have been addressed. For the cloud and the CDN, cloud service provider, and the CDN provider and the international gateway, they should, the ordinance introduce a governance-driven administrative, basically a architectural decision. So both parties should be sit on a dialogue, and architecture should be designed such a way so that they can transfer data as well as they can protect the national interest as well. So I will skip this. So I have prepared a comparison of 3 territories, basically European General Data Protection Regulation and the Bangladeshi Personal Data Protection Ordinance 2025 and the Indian Digital Personal Data Protection. So if you say data format, all personal data, if you European GDPR, you will say the digital and the physical data. If you say Bangladeshi, all personal and the sensitive has been personal sensitive data. And for the Indian DPDP Act, they only handle the digital data, not physical sort of data. And main object, same, easy for the Indian Act, it is basically focused on the easy business and the digital governance, and subject to right, that is extensive, and Bangladesh basically comprehensive and practical access of ASEAN. Then cross-border data, so you will say permissive, and Bangladesh is actually restrictive and balanced approach so that they can keep the national interest protected. And in Indian law, it is permissible other than the blacklisted countries. So in child data, that is same thing, all the three has been considered. And penalties, if you reaches the anything. So in penalties, you will see for the global, there is 20 million USD or the 4% of the global revenue for the companies. And in Bangladesh's law, it is up to 5% of their revenues. And in Indian, it is maybe 250 crore, it is around about 30 million USD. And Bangladesh authority, key authority in European, it is independent and national sovereignty authority that is distributed actually. In Bangladesh, that is National Data Governance Authority, India's Data Protection and Board for India. So what is the key strategic differences basically that I have discussed the. So in India, that is digital only gap. So you will say that in GDPR and the Data Protection Ordinance of Bangladesh, they basically all aspect of data, but India actually explicitly ignores the non-digital records. They only work with the digital records. And data sovereignty, Bangladesh Data Protection Ordinance 25 emphasizes data as a personal right, and while mandating strict local storage of sensitive data and more protective stance on national interest. And consent mechanism, so unambiguously all three are actually in a line that must be consent explicit, consent must be explicit, but in India, it is a unique consent management system, the ecosystem they maintain, and a personal, an individual can give his consent with a particular digital interface. So I will answer the challenges and the risks of the challenges and risks of the policymakers. So no governance actually framework without any challenges. So the key concern is basically balancing surveillance powers with the privacy rights, ensuring the National Data Governance Authority has the sufficient capacity and independence, and managing compliance costs for the startup and SMEs. So it has also strategic and economics impact also. If we can successfully implement this sort of ordinance, we can increase the trust in the digital services. We can also attract the foreign investor and improve international data sharing confidence and support with the vision of Smart Bangladesh, building Smart Bangladesh. So this is basically my final slide. So we can basically, the personal data protection is just, I would conclude with this word, is the personal data protection is not just a privacy law. It is basically a pillar to internet governance in Bangladesh, and the improving and sustainable digital platform and economic development. Thank you.
So okay, thank you, Arif. We are running out of time. So I had a long-standing dream that we will build an ISOC chapter from APAN. So I have just started. I need 25 members, so I would request all the entrants at least come up with 5 members to start with. And by APAN62, probably we can at least submit the proposal, because we need some grants from ISOC, because I couldn't make Fawad and Watsala present over here on site. If they could be here on site, then probably we would have been further benefited. Did I give the answer? And for my foreign guests, foreign speakers, overseas speakers, I have something to give. This is some local memento. Rajan, would you please come up? Take this. You are not interested? This is good. Thank you. Busang? Shimon bhai, this is local memento. That's why I chose not to give you. Thank you. So thanks to Shuman bhai for being the keynote speaker. Actually, he is a very, very busy person, a national level consultant. I spoke less about him, but if I want to speak about him, probably that will take another session. So thank you very much for coming here.